Pioneer viewers, how are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring you the most important developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. In a moment, we will analyze the latest developments on the front line with a map. The front line is moving and the Russian armed forces are trying to expand their positions. Similarly, the Ukrainian armed forces are doing the same. The Russian armed forces have been doing this for 5 months now. Despite tons of pounds of bombardment, the Russian armed forces have still failed to reach most of the targets they had, and the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, is more angry every day than the day before. The tension in the Kremlin Palace is very high. So what is the latest situation on the front line? Let's take a look at developments together. Well, before starting our report, I need to make a small reminder. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring you developments regarding Russia-Ukraine war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. I also read all your comments on our videos. Please continue to express your opinions about our contents in the comments. Let's start if you are ready in the Pioneer reports. We're looking at the Robotin sector of the Zaporizhia front line. You can see the area on the map. As you know, the focus of the Russian army in recent days has been on the town of Robotin. The Russian armed forces are seriously attacking the town of Robotin. These attacks have not yielded any results so far, and the Ukrainian armed forces are still largely in control of the town. On the Robotin sector of the Zaporizhia front line, the Russian armed forces, after shelling the southern approaches to the village of Robotin, launched another offensive today. It should be noted that it was an intense offensive. The town of Robotin was heavily targeted from both the southeast and the southwest. Infantry units of the Russian armed forces were actively involved in these attacks. As it is well known, infantry units of the Ukrainian armed forces usually have the advantage in infantry encounters. The inability of the Russian artillery to carry out effective operations here also hinders the Russian army's advance. The demarcation line in the region is largely fixed. Let's continue with the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in Pitiakhatki, Malaya Tokmakcha, Gliopol, and Malyanovka. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces worked on the Russian armed forces positions in Zhorobyanki, Kopani, Novoprokopovka, and Verbov. Let's continue with the latest developments on the Donetsk front line. Here I would like to share with you an interesting statements of the Russian sources about the Donetsk front line. As it is known, for the Russian armed forces, the Donetsk front line was a hell, and the effects of this hell are still continuing. According to the latest reports shared by the Russian sources, the Donetsk front line is still on fire. According to our sources in the region, units of the Russian armed forces continue to attack Novomikhailivka from the south and east and northeast during the day. The place has turned into a knot, because for some time it was thought that the Ukrainian troops here would retreat, but at the end of the day, Ukrainian troops maintained their presence here. The last attack of the Russian army here during the day failed. They're also trying to build on their successes on the Pobeda side. The Ukrainian troops are putting up fierce resistance. With the support of long-range weapons, the Russian armed forces carried out offensive actions near Gorgorivka. On the southern and eastern outskirts of the town of Krasnogorovka, the Russian military did not make any gains here either, and the Ukrainian armed forces units continue to hold their positions. There was also an offensive near Nevelsky, Tonikoy, Orlovka, and Berdyachi. The situation near Berdyachi is actually quite complicated. According to the Russian sources, the Russian armed forces have the advantage here. However, the situation is quite different according to the Ukrainian sources, because the area of influence of the Ukrainian armed forces is still quite large. There are some reports that the Russian army has captured the territory, but we cannot accept these reports as the true claim because there is no visual confirmation yet and the borderline is largely stable. So let me continue with the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces Konstantinivka, Perkolubska, Kharkov, and Permomskoye, Novobakhmutovka under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces, and New York and Severno. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted units of the Russian armed forces stations in Marinka, Donetsk, Avdiivka, and Horliivka. So let's continue by analyzing the latest developments on the Bakhmut front line. According to the latest reports, after the heavy shelling, the units of the Russian armed forces tried to break the defenses of the Ukrainian armed forces in Andriivka. However, they failed to achieve these results and the Ukrainian troops continue to hold their positions. While meanwhile, units of the Russian armed forces also conducted offensive operations near Klishchivka, this time from the southeast and from the hills northwest of the village of Klishchivka. The Russian armed forces are trying different strategies to regain control of the area, but the Ukrainian troops are determined, and so far the Russian armed forces have not made any gains. And the Russian forces also attacked Ivanivsky and Bogdanivka. There are intense battles here too, but there are no results, and we don't think that there will be any developments in the short time. Let's continue with the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, Russian long-range guns worked on the Ukrainian armed forces units in Kasavyar, Vasyukiivka and Rozdolovka. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted units of the Russian armed forces stations in Bakhmut and Yahidny. Let's continue with the latest developments on the Luhansk front line. According to the latest reports, on the Luhansk front line, units of the Russian armed forces with artillery support have managed to advance near Yampoliyivka and Sterniv and are increasingly pushing Ukrainian armed forces units towards the Zhrebets River. We believe that the situation here now needs to be analyzed more carefully. Ukrainian commanders should now try new strategies, and there is also a fierce counter-conflicts in Tabayivka, but there are no longer border changes in the area yet. When we look at the artillery activity in the area, we see only Russian artillery. According to reports, Russian artillery targeted Ukrainian armed forces positions in Belogorivka, Torskoy, Nevelskoy, Brestostovoy, and Pechanoy. So what do you think? Do you think the Ukrainian army will be able to break the Russian pressure in the Robotin? How do you assess the situation of the Russian armed forces there? And who do you think has the advantage on the Donetsk front line? Do you think the Russian army can advance further? And what is your opinion on the latest developments on the Luhansk front line? Do you think there could be major changes on the Luhansk front line? And what should the Ukrainian army do to prevent this? Let me know in the comments, because I really care and I read all of your comments.